We live?
We are live.
All right. Well, welcome all the foodies and lovers of drinks and everything such of that. This is Professor Porkloin, and I'm here with my lovely co-host.
The Meat Viking.
And today we are going to talk about some of our favorite stuff called donuts.
Dude, I love me some of them. Some of them fried rings of glory.
Although they don't, yeah, rings. They don't have to have the holes in them though.
That's true.
So, but we think we can chat about this for a little bit.
Yeah.
But before we do, two things, man. You got to tell me first what's in the cup.
So I had started mixing and making before I realized I had all the ingredients in this. But I took double chocolate vodka, and then I chased that behind with some Godiva liqueur, and then topped it off with Kahlua. That's what's in the cup. And I meant to add cream to this, but I'm out of cream. So this is
Yeah.
this is like straight Czechoslovakian kind of White Russian.
That's basically a black Russian at that
Yeah,
point.
it is a Black Russian, but
A
it
chocolate,
yeah, it's a
chocolate coffee black Russian.
It tastes good, but like it's one of them drinks that you're like, okay, yeah, this is where you make bad decisions.
Put some hair on your chest.
No, no, no. Just like if you drink too many of these, you're gonna have a lot of bad decisions you make throughout the night.
Or good decisions, depending
Or
on
good,
how it
yeah.
comes out, right?
Yeah, I mean, like we've all been there. It's a razor's line that you tread. And then it's usually, in my case, which is why I don't drink like I used to anymore, hearing the stories the next morning, and you're like, I did that, didn't I? It's like, nah, I didn't do that. And then like 3 hours later, when everything like kind of puzzle pieces together in a very dude, where's my car way? Yeah, yeah, you did that, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, for me, I didn't put it in my cup, but I went out and bought myself a breakfast stout, and I think this is very fitting
Oh yeah.
to go along with donuts. So it's B52 Brewing, and it is their breakfast stout, and it says that it's brewed with dragons and unicorns.
Ooh,
Um, so
is
very
that a
coffee-ish.
is that a local brand?
Uh, yeah, where's this? Conroe, Texas.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, brew with dragons and unicorns coffee. So it's got a nice little coffee flavor to it. Very mellow with the stout.
Mm.
So it's not a bad beer. It was a little expensive, and I think I got it from where I got it from. It was a 4 pack, and this is only 8%. It cost me like $18.
You know,
I
there's
have
a
had beers that were way more in ABV and not as expensive.
yeah.
So I think I kind of got a little ripped off, but yeah, I paid the $20. So I drank enough of them. Doesn't matter.
And you said this came in a 4 pack, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's a specific beer that I'm a fan of called Dragon's Milk. Comes in a four
Yeah.
pack, and that's
I
11%.
Yeah, how much is a 4 pack of that? Ripped off. I mean, these are pounder cans, which is fine, but I still think it's too much for something that's only 8%.
Some of these are going between $14 to $18.
Yeah, I got ripped off.
Well,
Oh
like
well.
you know, it be that way sometimes.
Yeah. Well, the other thing we got to talk about is our safe word, man.
hmm And I think we agreed that no good donut doesn't involve a little bit of oil in that mix. So,
True. So
although I heard a recipe today involving an air fryer,
you could probably do it in an air fryer. Wouldn't see why not.
what they did was they took some of them Pillsbury biscuits and
Okay.
then put them in the air fryer, and then they buttered them once they kind of cooled down a little bit, and then put cinnamon and sugar on top.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Interesting. So I got to ask you, what's your favorite donut? Like, if you were to go anywhere, let's just say Dunkin' Donuts, whatever. what would be the go-to donut for you?
I am a big fan of the maple long john donut.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's not a usual one.
yeah.
You know, a lot of people be like, "Oh, I like Boston cream," or "I like, just regular glaze or something like that." But
No, I mean, like it needs to have filling in there too, because when you get a long john that doesn't have filling in it, it's just disappointing, and it happens sometimes.
you feel like you get gypped.
Yeah, you feel like, man. And so like, but that would be my go-to. Now, if I'm going to like a specialty shop like today, um, because you can pick up a maple long john kind of wherever. So that'd be my go-to. But if I'm going to a specialty shop today, I'm gonna pick up that maple and bacon, or the one that I had today, because I picked up a 12 pack from this local place, which we'll get into later. I picked up what's called a Fruit Loop donut.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And I don't know how they did it, but that thing tasted exactly like I was eating like a Fruit Loop bar, and it was delicious.
Okay. Well, for mine, my go-to is the double chocolate glaze. Now, depending on where you're at, you're gonna have to say chocolate cake,
Yep.
which kind of drives me nuts because in the Northeast, I'd always get the double chocolate glaze because you knew it was double chocolate and then they glazed it on top with the chocolate glaze.
Mm-hmm.
And I came down to double chocolate glaze and they wound up giving me a freaking regular glazed donut.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the Northeast, it was double chocolate glaze. You'd get the chocolate, the chocolate donut with the chocolate glaze. But then you come down here and I asked for double chocolate glaze and they wound up giving me just a regular glazed donut. And I was like, that's not what I wanted.
Yeah.
And they said, oh, you have to say double chocolate cake
Mm.
because it's apparently a cake donut and not a yeast donut. So that drove me wild. But for me, it's always going to be that double chocolate glaze or cake, depending on what it is. And then the number two is probably a Boston cream.
Yeah.
So
Boston cream's hard to beat. I'm not even gonna lie. It'd
yeah,
be
pretty good.
it'd be in my top 5 donuts.
So I did a little research on some of the history of donuts,
Mm-hmm.
and apparently it's got a pretty convoluted origin behind it. There's a lot of people are saying it's from French bakers or Russian people and Dutch immigrants, and a lot of archaeologists are still finding these fossilized bits of kind of what look like donuts. So obviously they've been around because I mean it's basically flour, you know, eggs, yeast,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, but the Americans, the people coming over the boat, have basically were the ones that made the donut what it is. So this came back from when Manhattan was still the considered New Amsterdam, and they actually were known, and I'm going to say the safe word here, but it's not anything. They're so known as the oily cakes
Mm.
because they would deep fry them or they'd fry them in the oil. So what's really interesting though is that this was somewhere in the mid 19th century when there was a New England ship captain used to make these deep fried dough. Okay, so it wasn't even considered a donut yet, and it was just deep fried dough. And what they would do is she would wind up using nutmeg and cinnamon,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes she'd grind up some lemon rind on there, but she would stuff the middle of it with the nuts, with the hazelnuts or walnuts. So wouldn't cook it all the way. So the center was kind of like nice and doughy, right?
Mm.
It wasn't hard. Hence dough nuts
Donuts.
because the nuts were in the middle, man. So you'd have this doughy thing with hazelnuts or walnuts in it.
Man, I would try that. That don't sound too bad. So I've eaten raw cookie
I
dough
don't think
before, so it
it's
can't
a
be that.
bad idea. So more history of it though,
Okay.
right? So that ship captain, the mom was always
Mm.
doing those hazelnuts, walnuts, considered donuts.
Yep.
But the son actually coined the whole entire putting the hole in it.
Mm.
So he wound up basically taking the stuff that his mom had and for more or less sticking that hole right in the middle and then wind up frying it. So that's kind of the shape, because it looked like the ship's wheel.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
So it's really interesting. Again, this is going back. So people, the first donut hole was ever seen by mortal eyes by some guy.
nice.
Do you ever get any of the donut holes?
Oh, yeah.
Or I know where you're at, Timbits are pretty popular.
Yep.
Well, Tim Hortons. So
That is one of my splurges is I will pre-work go get a coffee from the Timmy of Hortons and pick up a 10-pack of the assorted Timbits. But yeah,
okay.
I'm a fan. Are you a fan of the little Timmy bits, the little donut holes?
Yeah, little donut holes. Although where I grew up, I didn't have Tim Hortons. We had Dunkin' Donuts, so it was
That's fair.
same thing.
Yeah.
And it was funny because whenever I worked at Dunkin' Donuts for a brief stint, man, if someone asked for the 25, I'd give them like 30 or 35. If someone
Yeah.
asked for a 50, your ass is getting at least 60.
We're gonna
Because
at
yeah,
the
we're
end
gonna.
of the
I mean,
day.
the end of the day, they just threw them all away, and it drove me nuts because, like, you're just basically wasting a shit ton of food. So I
Mhm,
wound up getting in trouble because I admitted to it. Because the one time it was sitting there, and my boss decided to count them, and
mhm.
there was I think there was like 36 in a 25 pack, and she's like, "Who did this?" And she goes, "You have to make sure that there's 25." And I'm like, "All right, I'll make sure that I do that." But
Yeah,
nah, I still wound up giving more.
yeah. It's it's not how many you ordered, it's how many fit in the packaging, okay?
Exactly. You shouldn't have made the packaging so big.
Right. This is a minimum wage job now. Come on, you really think I can count?
So I did a little more research too about how donuts actually came more standardized.
Okay.
Like back then, obviously you had to do all that shit by hand, and it was kind of very tedious. But somewhere around 1920, this guy made basically the first donut machine.
Huh.
Yeah, so it made it easier to actually get those rings faster, and then you got that line. So have you ever been to a Krispy Kreme?
A long time ago, yeah. There's one in town. I just haven't gone yet.
I think I remember when that one opened up,
Mm-hmm.
the lines were out the door,
Yep.
like they're all the way out onto the road. But if you go, the cool thing about Krispy Kreme is that you can go in, and in the whole backside of it is all glass. So you can see the whole process of how they, make the dough, how they feed it into the machine, and then you get the rings, and then they put it in the oil, which is not safe word, and then how it comes through, and
Mm-hmm.
then they glaze it. And whenever there's that hot light on, there was one that was by my parents' house growing up, and whenever we would go out that way, if the hot light was on, man, we got at least 2 dozen, probably eat a dozen in the car on the way home
Yep.
because they're just so good.
Yeah. They are good.
So the cool thing is that it was really that donut machine was kind of the first sign that people could see this process and see how you can glaze and really make that production more. So they kind of made it like a public thing. So again, that's why Krispy Kreme has those windows. So you can
Mm-hmm.
see all of the stuff there. And it's basically like a Willy Wonka scene, or
Come
where
with me.
you get to see the whole process, right? You
Yeah.
get to see the whole thing built. It's not cut out. It's literally like, hey, here's the ring, but they plop it out, and it's kind
Mhm.
of like a smoke ring when it goes into the fryer.
Hmm.
So it's it's really cool, and apparently they wind up being really refined right after no right before World War II ish in the 30s, somewhere early 30s, and that dude was making a shit ton of money.
Oh yeah.
He was making back at that time about $25 million a year.
Oof. Ooh, that's a lot. That was when you could buy a new house for like $1,000.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah. Oof. Uh,
So
So what you're telling me though is now when I go into Krispy Kreme, I need to expect OSHA violations because that's all Willy Wonka is a ton of OSHA violations caught on camera.
No, I'm pretty sure that they have that set up pretty
Yeah,
easily.
yeah. Just
So,
kidding, Krispy Kreme, don't fire me. I don't even work for you, but don't fire me. So
but yeah, it's man, that dude was killing it. I think 25 million back then. You've got to be
there's got
whatever.
to be a way to adjust. So this is 1930s.
Yeah, so put in 19. I think it was 32, or just put in 1930s.
1930s inflation calculator. So just $1 in 1930 is worth $15.60 today.
So what's 25 million?
Well, it's a lot of zeros I got to put in here.
Yeah.
Oof. Wow, that's 380. It's almost 390 million today.
Whew, man, he's a rich dude.
Yep.
So
That's like New York middle class, though. Really, I mean, if you think about it. So,
but apparently, so how Krispy Kreme wind up getting their stuff is that guy was selling all of his things and he had a recipe, and apparently he wound up selling it and the name Krispy Kreme to a local owner.
oh,
And there it is, boom, Krispy Kreme, and he wound up selling that stuff door to door.
ooh.
Do you remember? Did you have Krispy Kreme fundraisers as a kid or no?
No, I remember like popcorn fundraisers and stuff like that when I was a kid.
Yeah, I mean, mine was kind of a village too, but where we were at, because Krispy Kreme was so popular, that
Mm,
we would get fundraisers where you can buy like multiple dozens at a shot,
hmm.
and the extra money would go towards whatever thing you're trying to go.
That might be because like
So
when I would have been a wee young lad, I think the nearest Krispy Kreme to us was probably about like an hour and a half or 2 hours away. So that might be why I didn't have them then.
gotcha. Well, apparently Krispy Kreme has been like the hot commodity when it came to just donuts in general, and then all the way up through now. Because some of the other research that I looked at too, they boosted the hell out of their sales, man, by having that hot donut sign that lights up whenever they're done off of the factory line.
Mm-hmm.
And then apparently they had some war stuff whenever World War II was just coming around. They had Red Cross women, and they were also known as donut dollies.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, they wound up doling out the freaking donuts to the military people.
Mm. That's back when they used to
So
give
it's
cigarettes in
crazy
the
to think
armies,
about
though.
how even it's amazing how much we freaking eat donuts, man.
Dude, it is. Oh, like, how much does the average American eat?
I mean, enough.
Let's see if the old Google will tell us.
Dude, I think a normal donut's like 300 and something calories, depending on which one you get. Some of them might be like 500 calories.
How many donuts does the average American eat? 31 donuts a year.
Ooh, I think I'm higher than that.
Do we eat more than 2 or 3 donuts a month?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I'm bringing that average up right now.
it's all good. Apparently, there's more than 25,000 donut shops in the country, and we produce roughly 10 billion donuts a year.
Well, I can tell you the town that I live in has probably half of those,
Yeah.
which is nuts. Because I mean, you drive down Main Street and it's feel like that's all you see is a donut or coffee shop that has donuts.
Let's see. Top 6 favorite destinations in no particular order: Chicago, Illinois, Louisville, Kentucky, New York, New York, Portland, Oregon, Seattle, Washington, and Washington, D.C.
I figured New York would be on that list.
Well, yeah, because that's like right there on the border.
Interesting.
So, yeah. I'm surprised Chicago's up so far.
Yeah. Oh, there
Well, I
might be a
guess
lot of Polish people.
it says in no particular order. So speaking of the Polish, I don't think that this would be an appropriate podcast if we didn't go off on a tangent on a little something the Polish created called the punchki.
Yeah.
Now, punchkis are basically like fruit-filled donuts, like fruit, like a lemon-filling donut, like coated in powdered sugar, super delicious. And in the town that I live in, whenever they come out with punchki season, which is usually right around Fat Tuesday, people go wild for them.
I know. I know.
Yeah.
Same from where I was when I grew up.
Don't get me wrong. Like if you're into jelly donuts and you can try a punchki, I would give it a shot.
Yeah, I would recommend it.
And they're good.
I will definitely agree with you on that one. They are good for sure.
Do you have a favorite kind of punchki?
I just like original, man.
Okay.
Original was always fine for me. I've done some of the other ones too, but original was good for me.
I like the powdered sugar with the lemon filling, personally. And
Okay.
the wife likes the powdered sugar with the Bavarian cream. That's the one that she likes.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I almost feel like to kind of go close off of your punchki thing is to think about New Orleans too, with their beignets.
Ooh, what's a beignet?
Oh man, a beignet is basically just a fried dough ball that's just doused in powdered sugar.
Ooh, okay.
You'll have to see if you can look that up. But I mean, if you ever go to New Orleans, you have to get a beignet.
How do you spell beignet?
I think it's like Beneit, beignet, something. And I can't even guarantee that spelling's right, but
Yeah, the did you mean to spell was benefit, and I did not mean to spell benefit. What's the famous
but
New Orleans pastry?
Cafe du Monde is the one that sells it.
Okay. So
But
beignet is spelled Beignet.
yeah, there you go. I knew it's a French saying for sure, but
Yeah.
it's beignet is what it's called.
These do look like little tasty bastards. Honestly, you know what this looks
Yeah, so
like
if you get
from what
down,
I pulled up? It looks like, and I shit you not, foodies, it looks like a fucking powdered sugar pizza roll. That's what it looks like.
well, if you get a chance to go down that way, you have to go to Cafe du Monde, and you get 3 of them, I think, for I don't know, maybe like $6 or something. But they're always hot off the press, though. It's not like Krispy Kreme where you have to see if the light's on. No, like they make it right there.
Oh, yeah, these look like some
So,
tasty bastards, though.
and I mean, it's kind of a donut because it's basically just fried dough.
Yeah, fried dough with powdered sugar.
Yep,
So,
and they douse it in powdered sugar too.
oh yeah, like I'm looking at some of these pictures and like that is you're paying for the powdered sugar on that. You're not paying for the
Yeah.
dough.
So you stopped off at a specialty shop this morning, didn't you?
I sure did. I'm always talking about supporting local, and there's a local place called Holy Toledo. It's spelled HOLEYTOLEDOUGH. So Toledo, like the donut, and then holy because the hole. And I bought a dozen of these to split 6 with, the Shield Made into Meats, and then with myself. And I'll tell you what, let's see if I can put it on camera here without spilling them. Oh, yeah, that ain't gonna happen well.
There
Yeah,
you go.
yeah. These are some tasty looking things. I don't even know what this one is. It looks good though.
Looks like a cinnamon squirrel one.
It might be because we got like right here's some maple bacon with some pecan.
That
This
looks like a Homer Simpson.
this is the Homer Simpson donut.
Yeah, I knew it.
Yeah. I think this is their French toast donut.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Yeah, and then we got some Boston creams over here. So yeah, it's gonna be a good time.
Whew. So, if you don't mind me asking, how much is a dozen? Because usually those specialty shops kind of go a little bit more than what you'd get for Krispy Kreme or Dunkin' Donuts or any other normal donut shop.
Well, let me pull up the price here because they've got a couple of things that you can do. And so they have something called BFD, which I'm fairly certain stands for Big Fucking Donut. And they have kits for these. The kits for the Big Fucking Donut are $20. Assorted
Okay.
options for 12 are going to run you $20. You can build your own box of a dozen for 20. And then for a half dozen, you're looking at 12. Or
Oof.
you could go the 4-pack for 10. So really, like, your best bet is just to buy a dozen.
I think that's where they kind of get you, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
But you want to try all of them, right? Like, you just want to try them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They have one,
Oh,
well,
yeah.
not close, I guess, a couple hour drive, depending on which way I go. Um, no.
Hello? You good?
You hear me now?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Have one a
Yeah.
couple hours from you said, that does something?
Yeah, so you have the Holy Toledo.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they have a couple of them that are by me, depending on which way I go. The last time I went, I was in Austin, and it was Voodoo Donuts. Have you ever been to one of those?
No, I have not been to a Voodoo Donut.
Yeah. Think of the Holy Toledo. I mean, same thing.
Mm-hmm.
They've got a whole bunch of specialty donuts that you can get, and the last time I saw, they had one that was like a Cookie Monster. It was all blue, and it was super cool. Um,
Oh.
but they have some pretty cool stuff as well.
Hmm. That sounds good. So I
Yeah.
didn't see this on their menu that I was looking up, but apparently Holy Toledo has figured out the logistics of this. They put an entire Pop Tart inside of a donut. So it looks like you can only get them on some days. You have to pre-order them.
What kind of Pop Tart?
It's either going to be strawberry or brown sugar.
Ooh, all right. At least they have brown sugar.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, like, it
Brown sugar
looks
is my
like a
favorite.
Pop Tart. Oh, dude, hands down, it's one of the best. So, and that BFD, to get you an idea of how big that donut is, it is a donut cake, and it's supposed to serve between 12 and 15 slices.
Oh my God.
So that's a big donut. Yeah, yeah.
So I'm just looking at some of the menu stuff they have down at Voodoo Donut, and they've got the Homer, which is again similar.
Mm-hmm.
They've got Oh Captain, My Captain, so it's got Captain Crunch on it.
Oh, yeah, I would
Yeah,
try
probably.
that.
Yeah, it'd probably cut your mouth too while you're at it, but
You know what? Some things are worth the pain in life,
they have a bacon maple bar. That's something you'd probably like.
dude.
They got some maple cream. Uh, it looks like they got some pretty good stuff.
Mm-hmm. So, if you'd seen when I opened that box of donuts, that a couple of them were probably missing from the dozen we had. And you brought this up when you said the Captain Crunch. I had something today that was called the Fruity Pebbles from this place, and it is a buttermilk cake donut with vanilla buttercream and Fruity Pebble cereal on top.
Oof.
And they do a cocoa pebble ones, which is a chocolate cake donut, chocolate buttercream, and cocoa pebbles on top.
That sounds delicious.
Dude, yeah. So I mean, like, if you're into donuts, even just a little bit, I would recommend checking out some of these specialty donuts that maybe aren't your typical, because normally I wouldn't think about ordering The Fruity Pebble one, but I'll tell you what, I'm glad I did because it was tasty. If you
So
ever have like one of them milk and cereal bars, you know what I'm talking about? It was
yeah.
like that, but way better.
So I made some donuts a couple weeks ago, and it was my first shot at it.
Mm-hmm.
And I did something similar where I did a cream cheese frosting, and
Mm-hmm.
then I dipped it in Oreos. Like I banged up the Oreos a little bit into nice little crumbs, and then dipped them in. And then I also did Fruity Pebbles as well.
Ooh.
So that tasted exactly like I was eating Fruity Pebble, a Fruity Pebble bar, essentially, like you
Yeah.
said.
Ah. Mm.
So I gotta ask you, if you were thinking of a donut, are you into cake donuts or are you into yeast donuts?
See, I'm a little torn on this because, as I said before, Long John is my go-to donut, and that is a yeast-based donut, right?
Okay.
But I've also never had a cake donut that I didn't like.
Okay.
So, but I am gonna give this one to the old tried and true yeast-based donut.
Yeast, okay. That's fine. I'd have to say cake donut just because I love those double chocolate ones, man.
Yeah, and like
But I mean, I can't go wrong with Krispy Kreme because that's a yeast donut.
right. Well, and like that's the thing. I think it's okay to be not on the same page as this one because each donut it has its own spot in the world, right? Some people like cake, some people don't like yeast, and we can come together over the commonality that we both fucking love donuts.
Well, now so there's two camps of that, right? Someone who likes cake donuts, someone who likes yeast donuts.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the cake donut is used with the sweetened dough, and you have baking powder, whereas the yeast is the stuff that lets it do it, right?
Right.
So, what camp are you in the spelling? Are you on the donut, the DONUT spelling, or are you in the dough nut, the DOUGH NUT?
DOUGH.
Oh man,
Yeah.
I like the other one. I like the donut, man. DONUT. It's super easy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, you're not wrong. It is easier, but like, I can't spell anyways. And so, like, even if how you spell it was DONUT, I would still spell it the other way, like sound it out.
Okay,
So,
donut.
yeah.
Well, I think I can agree with you and say that they're not equal, right? They both have their place,
Yeah.
but they're both freaking delicious.
Right. It's like, you know, like this BFD we're talking about just a couple minutes ago. That thing is a cake donut, right? It's a donut cake that serves 12 to 15 slices. I would be down for that. If you were like, hey man, let's go in and split this big donut, I'd be like, yo, dude, let's go and do this. But if I was like, hey man, I picked up some donuts, I don't think you would be like, oh, you didn't pick me up a cake donut, so I can't have this.
Yeah, you're right.
See?
If someone said, "Hey man, I got donuts," I'd be like, "All right,
Yeah,
what are we doing?" I'm not gonna be like, "Oh man, you only got freaking glazed."
right.
Be like, "No, I'm just gonna go nom 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 nom."
Yeah, yeah. It'll be the Cookie Monster of donuts.
Get just the glazed frosting like all over your fingers and in your
Mhm.
mustache, and you're like, "Oh, saving it for later."
Yeah, yeah, that happens. That's the downside of a beard like mine. Sometimes you just get things in there.
Yeah. Well, with the mustache too,
Yeah.
you gotta. I trim it up in the middle just because I eat my food, and then I eat my mustache if I don't.
Yeah, I get my hair cut like once a year. And so when I do that is when I get my beard trimmed too. And it's about that time.
Nah, you gotta wait just a couple more months until the snow melts, man.
That's usually when I get it cut is when the snow starts melting.
Yeah. So
So
Well, cool, man. Well, if there are any other things you want to talk about with donuts? I mean, I could think of something. You mentioned it previously before with the Homer Simpson.
what you got?
I feel like that's got to be one of the quintessential like icons of
Oh yeah.
just overall television is seeing the donut
Mm-hmm.
and seeing that pink frosted one. And I I think one of the best ones. Did you ever see the one where? Do you ever see the one where Homer winds up going to hell and he just eats all the donuts in hell?
I have not seen that one.
It's a older episode. It's got to be from probably the mid '90s, maybe late '90s. And Homer winds up going to hell. I think it's the House of Horrors or whatever they do on their Halloween special.
Mm-hmm.
And Homer goes down to hell, and the the devil's like, "You're gonna eat donuts for all eternity," and you just see him start feeding him from a machine, and he's just like, "Ow, ow, ow, ow." He eats, and then he gets all the way to the very end, and he's like really fat, and he's just going more, ow, ow, ow. And the devil's like, "I didn't think anybody'd be able to eat that much."
Gosh, cartoons were so cool back in the day.
Yeah, but I mean that's an iconic thing though that
Yeah.
Homer Simpson is the donut. Like you have that memory of seeing him with a donut.
Oh yeah. Yep.
So
I wonder if there
well,
are any other like donuts in pop culture.
I mean, I think of Wayne's World. They had that big donut on top of the store.
Yep. That's not
There's
how you
got
spell donuts.
there's there's a lifting uh company, like clothing company. I figured you were looking at whatever it was.
Yeah, and I'm not seeing anything, to be honest, other than it's always iconic to see like an officer eating a donut, which I don't know how that works out, but sure. uh, yeah, I don't know. Not really seeing anything.
Well, we do know that donuts are basically a an icon in themselves, so you don't really need to see them in too much pop culture stuff.
Right. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Donuts stay donutty.
Do not let them go crazy.
I saw like your head turning when you were making the pun, and I was like, you can do it. And I was like, I'm proud of you. Oh, that's fun. Do not let them go crazy. So
Well, we got anything else for the donut topic?
I don't think we do.
All right. Well, I guess we can sign off and we can go on to our merry ways.
Yeah. Well, foodies, let us know what kind of donut you prefer, how you spell it. You know, are you a cake donut or are you a yeast donut? What's your favorite kind of donut? So I've been the Meat Viking, my
This is
wonderful host.
Professor Porkloin.
And we're going to
Signing
call it for
off.
tonight's episode.
Yep. Until next week.
Until next week.